The rain had started just as the funeral procession approached the gates of Arlington National Cemetery. Cold, steady drops that clung to black coats and blurred the hard lines of a somber afternoon. Rows of soldiers stood motionless, their uniforms soaked, their faces unreadable. The flag-draped casket rested atop a caisson, pulled by a team of solemn black horses. It was the funeral of General Arthur McKinley, four-star general, decorated war hero, and a man who had commanded armies. Senators, high-ranking officers, foreign dignitaries, all had come to pay tribute. The ceremony was precise, ceremonial, choreographed down to the last salute. But then something unexpected happened. An old man, frail and bent with age, shuffled slowly toward the gate, wearing a faded army field jacket and leaning on a crooked wooden cane. His face was drawn, his eyes sunken, but there was something defiant in the way he walked, something proud. Two military guards stepped forward to intercept him. "I'm sorry, sir," one said, firm but not unkind. "This area is restricted. You can't enter." The old man looked up, rain running off the brim of his cap. "I need to be there," he said, voice cracked from years of silence. "I served with him." The guards exchanged a glance. One of them tapped his radio. "I have a civilian trying to enter the ceremonial line. Claims he served with General McKinley." "Over." Static crackled. "Negative. No unlisted guests. Maintain perimeter." The old man heard it. His shoulders slumped. He looked past the guards at the flag-draped casket, disappearing into the mist. That's when the commotion started. A colonel, standing beneath a white canopy, glanced toward the gate, irritated at the break in order. He raised binoculars, peered out into the rain, and froze. A moment later, he turned sharply and said something to a nearby aide. The aide ran. Seconds passed. Then everything stopped. The horses halted. The soldiers lowered their rifles. A hush fell over the crowd as the casket paused mid-procession. At first, no one understood what was happening. Then, like parting sea, the soldiers along the path slowly moved aside. And through that silence, a deep voice cut through the air. "Let him through!" All eyes turned. Standing beneath the canopy, tall and still, was General Robert Langston, McKinley's protege, and the man now wearing 4 stars on his shoulder. His face was stone, but his eyes were locked on the old man at the gate. The guard stepped back. The old man, unsure, hesitated. "I said let him through." Langston's voice was quieter this time, but no less commanding. The old man took a shaky step forward, then another. The mud sucked at his worn shoes. Every inch of his progress felt like a battle. But he kept going, one step after another, until he stood beside the casket. Langston stepped down to meet him. "Thought you weren't coming," Langston said quietly. The old man looked up, and for the first time, a flicker of something, recognition maybe, passed between them. "I didn't think I'd be welcome," the old man replied. Langston shook his head slowly. "You were the one person he asked for." Gas rippled through the crowd. The rain kept falling. The old man's hands trembled as he reached out, touching the edge of the flag draped over the casket. Memories flooded back, years spent shoulder to shoulder in distant deserts, frozen mountains, and battlefields soaked in fire and blood. General McKinley hadn't been just a commander. To the old man, he was a brother, a mentor, a guiding star in the darkest of nights. Langston watched silently, a storm of emotions flickering behind his calm exterior. This man was not just a face from the past. He was a living testament to a part of McKinley's story no history books told. His funeral was supposed to be for generals, senators, and dignitaries, Langston said quietly, voice barely audible over the rain. But the man who stood with him in the mud and blood, he deserved a place here. The old man nodded, eyes glistening. He always said, "It's the soldiers who matter, not the stars on the shoulders." I was just following orders, until the orders stopped making sense. Langston's gaze hardened. You saved his life. The old man swallowed hard. I did what anyone would do, but the wounds, not all of them healed. Langston placed a firm hand on the old man's shoulder. That's why you're here. Not just to say goodbye, but to remind us what this all means. A murmur spread through the crowd. Reporters who had been silently filming shifted, capturing this unexpected moment. The somber ceremony turned into something raw and real. A reminder that beneath the polished veneer of rank and protocol lay stories of sacrifice and brotherhood. Suddenly, a young soldier approached Langston, handing him a folded letter. The general glanced at it, then looked back to the old man. This, he said, is from McKinley. He wrote it weeks before the end. With a nod from Langston, the old man unfolded the fragile paper, rain blurring the ink. His voice cracked as he read aloud. To the man who stands with me, no medal or rank can ever repay your courage. When I am gone, tell the world it wasn't the generals who won the battles, but the men who stood their ground. Remember that. The rain seemed to pause. Soldiers and guests alike stood frozen, caught in a moment suspended between grief and gratitude. Langston stepped forward. Today, we honor more than a general. We honor every soldier who ever marched beside him, visible or forgotten. The old man's shoulders straightened for the first time in years. In that moment, the barriers of rank, protocol, and time faded away. A simple truth shone through the storm. True honor is earned in the hearts of those who never give up on each other. The ceremony slowly resumed, but the mood had shifted. What had begun as a rigid military farewell became a quiet, powerful tribute to loyalty, sacrifice, and unspoken bonds. The rain softened to a gentle drizzle, as if the heavens themselves were paying respects. Langston stood beside the old man as the flag was folded and presented, not to a family member, but to the man who had stood by McKinley through every nightmare. The crowd, once filled with formality, now whispered words of reverence. Some soldiers wiped tears from their eyes. Some older veterans nodded, remembering their own battles and comrades. When the bugle sounded taps, its notes hung in the air longer than usual, echoing deep into the hearts of those present. After the ceremony, Langston guided the old man away from the crowd, out of the storm's grip. "Why didn't you come sooner?" Langston asked quietly. The old man looked up, weathered eyes meeting the general's steady gaze. "I thought no one would care, that I was forgotten." Langston shook his head, a faint smile breaking through his stern demeanor. "No one who mattered ever forgot you, and now neither will anyone else." As they walked away from the gravesite, the old man felt something he hadn't in years, a sense of belonging, of being seen and honored not for rank or medals, but for loyalty, courage, and the quiet strength that comes from standing tall when no one is watching. In the end, the generals, the ceremonies, and the pomp were just a backdrop. The real story was about one old man, blocked at the gate, whose place among heroes was never in doubt, and a 4-star general who stopped everything to make sure the world remembered that. If you found this story as powerful and moving as I did, make sure you don't miss out on more stories like this. Hit that subscribe button and join the journey with us. There's plenty more to come that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.